grant, business assistance, and microenterprise.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Board of Supervisors. Jen Aguilar, Boston County Planning and Building Services Department. The item the department is bringing in front of you is in regards to business assistance and microenterprise financial assistance program loan approvals. Today we are requesting that the board approve the following loans to Richard and Charmy Swarm doing business as Roseberry House Bed and Breakfast and Medici Logging Incorporated. We're also requesting the board to authorize the CDBG funds to be dispersed to the loans and authorize the chairman to execute all of the loan documents. Both of the loans were approved by our local loan committee on February 26th of 2014. Basically the loans, the Medici Logging loan is coming out of the business assistance program and to be paid out of grant number 12 CDBG 8396. It is a $350,000 loan to retain 37 employees, including the owners. The interest rate on that was 2.25% with 6-month skip payments. And then Roseberry House was for a $25,000 rehabilitation loan. They're going to be putting in windows and doors. And their interest rate was 2%, and that is a normal, fully amortized over 10 years loan. Are there any questions? Oh, and the Roseberry House will be paid from 10 EF 7266. That's our business lending programs.
I had a couple of questions, Janet, regarding the Medici.
Medici?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You have 120 months with 6 monthly payments and 6 monthly skips.
Correct.
What is that?
So it's a fully amortized loan, but we are, because they are a seasonal type of a business, we are actually allowing for them when they have the cash flow during the summer months to pay double payments. And so even it'll be amortized for the full 120 months, but they're going to be paying double 6-month payments. And it basically allows them, when they're not working and they don't have cash flow coming in, to not be paying us.
How much are those payments, Jim?
They're about $6,300.
When they double?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And that was their request, right?
Yes, that was at their request.
And it's been approved by the state.
Well, that makes sense to me for them.
Yes. And it essentially helps them pay the loan and not have...
Instead of paying $3,150 12 times a year, they're going to pay $6,300 6 times a year.
6 times a year.
They're harvesting their timber.
Yeah.
Correct. And the state of California also approved that alternate pay schedule, and so did the local committee.
That's a little unusual, though, isn't it, to do that amortization like that?
Most of the logging with
I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
Monthly payments is probably more unusual rather than annual payments.
In fact, that agriculture, you sell your cattle at the end of the year, you sell your hay, you usually have one payment a year.
So what is the, what's the total if these loans go through successfully that you bring back to the department?
I don't have that exact number because I don't have the final invoices for the underwriting, but that can be reported back.
Roughly.
Roughly, maybe about $100,000.
That should be how you start off with
Well, I will take note of that and make sure this is the dollar amount.
on how to get votes.
You didn't check your messages before.
Mr. Chairman, that raises a great point. I'd like to ask Mr. Egan, and it's something that you see on other agendas and other organizations, but we rarely see, especially when it comes to dealing with money type things. You have like a recommendation, a summary, a history, the overview. You have all these segments. There should be a provision on there that is fiscal impact in terms of identifying what that fiscal impact is, where you actually outline not only maybe for, in this case, the grantees, but the grantors. What are the fiscal impacts if they don't, if this thing fails, and what sort of things are we on the hook for to have to make good back to the state? And having that, as part of our agenda cover sheet, when we have, that requested action, but a lot of times some of these have like fiscal impacts, and it goes to the heart of that last question. And it would be a lot easier for the board, but more importantly for the public, to appreciate the magnitude of some of the decisions or the called upon to address.
And if I may compliment Jenna, when you get to the last item, when you're going to decide on what programs you might pick, she really kind of outlined that and spelled it out really well, I think. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the memo itself, but I think it'd be nice to take that and summarize it and have it, as part of that agenda boilerplate that comes to us. You have where we have, it has to be signed off by county council as the legal document.
Gotcha.
And when
Fiscal
we act-
impact.
Yeah, huh?
Yeah, like you see it a lot in rates, fiscal impact, yeah.
The physical impact of that decision. In most cases, it's only 1 or 2 lines. It's not like a big exhaustive narrative. But if you have a narrative like she has in that agenda item coming up, condense that down to 1 or 2 sentences as to what the bottom line means to not only, in this case, the grantee, but also the grantors.
And if I could just try to summarize that a little bit for the record. We talked generally last meeting about this, but some of the potential fiscal impacts are, if jobs are not created or maintained.
Right. Well,
repayment of the entire amount to the state, any litigation that may evolve from our activity as a lender is basically unquantifiable, but is a
Well, and
real.
I'm not saying you necessarily quantify it, but if you're creating an open-ended thing where there's a potential, but part of that fiscal impact is by going with this here is that we're preserving 37 jobs, and the value of that to our local economy and to the community, is large as well. I mean that. So it's not just the negative side, but also the positive side needs to be out there, so we have a clearer picture as to that magnitude.
And I can do that. So with Medici logging, if a bulk of the retention argument in order for them to be able to participate in the program was completed before their loan went through. So we've already verified that they're going to have this amount of employees and this amount is over 51% low income. What I have to do is, if funds are approved to be dispersed, once their season starts, I go back out to make sure that those employees are retained, the same employee list that we started with, and that 51% are low income. If they do not if they do not retain a certain amount of those jobs, what I have to then verify is that 51% of those. If they do not retain the jobs and 51% are low income, then we are on the hook for the $350,000 and the activity delivery that was charged that loan.
So what happens if they have employee turnover and they can't
Then
find somebody that qualifies into that low income bracket that they've just let loose, or they've quit, or they're stealing something? Then what happens?
Then, as long as we have a little bit of wiggle room with the 51%.
Okay.
So right now they actually have over.
So they don't build the railroad tracks and get somebody off the railroad tracks to
No. And
not qualified
typically,
to run and skip.
a majority of their employees are low income as it stands now, so we do have a higher percentage. So if they didn't create the jobs, then we're able to basically bring it down. So.
And it's probably better for the next discussion when we get to what programs you want to pick. But in case of this loan, it does have security and it is securitized, so the risk isn't there. But it doesn't mean in the future that it won't be there, and that's what the CAO is concerned about.
And if they have people who leave their employ, then they, under this grant thing, they're under the obligation to backfill and hire somebody, not just reduce their forces. So they need to go out and find people to continue keeping the job
Their
there.
portfolio up.
Aaron, you got a question?
Yeah, I had a couple more questions as we went through all the volume of stuff. One, it really concerns me about the logging outfit, and that is there's a section in here about hazardous substances that you can't have them. I mean, they have to have diesel, they have to have oil.
The attorney actually revised it to say, we just didn't include Medici logging specific financial agreement because it does have employee information, but he did revise the statement to say that are not used in normal logging practices. So that statement has been revised to allow for Medici logging to continue.
And my other question was, like on page 55, if they decide to use their equipment for collateral, it says number 7, the borrower will keep the collateral to address shown. I mean, they're out in the woods 6 months of the year.
Correct, that was also revised to allow for them to. Basically, because the collateral, These are sample, these are just kind of base overview. We send off the specific for each business loan agreement to the attorney, let them know what's happening.
These are not the actual
No,
documents.
no, and the reason being is because they include confidential information, especially regarding the employees. So we do not, we just wanted you to be able to see kind of the base of what we were providing.
So is there also changes in there, if they use equipment as collateral for the 120 months, I mean, there's gonna be some turnover there. Is there something there where you can cycle it through?
Yes, they have to notify us within a certain amount of days if the collateral is going to be sold or transferred, or if they buy new collateral, then they have to inform us.
Plus, we have a list of the equipment.
Correct. Yes. And that's actually a requirement of the security agreement, so.
That's standard with any loan,
Yeah.
Is there any public input or comment on this item? Questions? No?
I'll make the motion to accept that.
all of H4.
So, under discussion, I just want to make sure the loan committee consisted of who?
It consisted of Maria and I from Plymouth Bank, Larry Smith from Smith Properties, Tracy Holt from Alliance for Workforce Development, Kim Neal from Highland Park Home Loans, and Rick Stewart from Susanville Supermarket.
Because I just want to make sure that that's on the record as to who.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're relying upon their
Their judgment,
evaluation and
absolutely.
judgment too, so it's not, it was taken very seriously.
Yes.
And our underwriter was also present, Bob Nash from Superior, California, and then planning and building staff was.
Good.
And the businesses both were able to present their information to the loan committee, so the loan committee had an opportunity to ask them questions and clarify anything that they felt was necessary.
How long will it take for this money to get?
Yeah, that was my next question.
Signing is going to be hopefully scheduled by the end of this week, and then we will have, depending on which loan it is, with Roseberry House, that will be in progress payments to the contractor, so we will have to go out, they will need to get to contractors, so that's going to be a little bit of a longer process, but Medici is a, basically we're paying off trade accounts, so the checks will be going out immediately after they sign.
Good. Did a good job.
Which ultimately allows for us to apply to the, which is item number 8.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to H5.
Yes.
It came to my attention last week that